Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 13, text number 14. This is about the nature, the enjoyer and the consciousness. Sarvataha Pani Padam Tat Sarvataha Akshi Shiraha Mukham Sarvataha Srutimat Loke Sarvam Avrutya Tishtati Sarvataha Panipadam Tat Sarvato Akshishiro Mukham Sarvataha Srutimalloke Sarvamavrutya Tishtati Sarvataha Panipadam Tat Sarvato Akshishiro Mukham Sarvataha Srutimalloke Sarvamavrutya Tishtati Sarvataha Panipadam Tat Sarvato Akshishiro Mukham Sarvataha Srutimalloke Sarvamavrutya Tishtati. Others? Sarvataha, everywhere. Pada, Pani, hands. Padam, legs. Tat, that. Sarvataha, everywhere. Akshi, eyes. Shiraha, heads. Mukham, faces. Sarvataha, everywhere. Srutimat, having ears. Loke, in the world. Sarvam, everything. Avrutya, covering. Tishtati, exist. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Everywhere are His hands and legs, His eyes, heads and faces, and He has ears everywhere. In this way the Super Soul exists, pervading everything. As the sun exists, diffusing its unlimited rays, so does the Super Soul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He exists in all His all-pervading form, and in Him exist all the individual living entities, beginning from the first great teacher, Brahma, down to the small ants. There are unlimited heads, legs, hands, and eyes, and unlimited living entities. All are existing in and on the Supersoul. Therefore, the Supersoul is all-pervading. The individual soul, however, cannot say that he has his hands, legs, and eyes everywhere. That is not possible. If he thinks that under ignorance he is not conscious that his hands and legs are diffused all over, but when he attains to proper knowledge, he will come to that stage. His thinking is contradictory. This means that the individual soul, having become conditioned by material nature, is not supreme. The supreme is different from the individual soul. The Supreme Lord can extend his hands without limit, and individual soul cannot. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that if anyone offers him a flower or a fruit or a little water, he accepts it. If the Lord is a far distant away, how can he accept things? This is the omnipotence of the Lord. Even though he is situated in his own abode, far, far away from earth, he can extend his hands to accept what anyone offers. That is the potency. In the Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter, 37th verse, it is stated that Goloka eva nivasatya atma bhutaha. Although he is always engaged in the pastimes in his transcendental planet, he is all-pervading. The individual soul cannot claim that he is all-pervading. Therefore, this verse describes the super soul, the personality of Godhead, not the individual soul. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulmilitan Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavasya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Shri Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, this is the chapter about the nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. All these three are present in this material world, and material world has not come out by accident. Behind the manifestation of material nature, there is three process of creation, sustenance, and dissolution is involved. So, this material energy is inferior energy of Lord Krishna, and individual soul is given an opportunity to rectify his mistake through proper cultivation of knowledge about how the material nature is acting, what is the cause behind it, and why he is also so impelled to act within that material nature. The consciousness that brings out the knowledgeability is being discussed. Many times we hear that the qualitative oneness of the soul and supersoul is there because the soul is part and parcel of the supersoul, or in other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So what are this individual soul and its consciousness, supersoul and its consciousness, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His consciousness? That is Krishna consciousness. How all these are related? If they are qualitatively one, then we assume that it is the same substance. It is the same thing. No. Source is not the same thing at the utmost distant end of consumer. A consumer is obtaining some, say, food or eatable, right? But that food is an immediate effect of some cause. You cannot equate, even though you are made up of food, the food itself is inert and ignorant of its own origin. Man consumes food without any reason for himself. He ends up consuming the food because he has to live through the agency of other living entities. He has to feed them. So there is no direct relationship between a conscious self and food. What causes the food? Because the effect with the body. Effect is the body from the food. Annat bhavanti bhutani. The effect means the body is the effect of the food. Living entities consume, they become big, they produce likes, and it grows. The body grows. But the soul is not knowledgeable. So, his consciousness is simply geared on ignorant aspect of his being. So therefore, an individual soul is incapable to support his existence or support somebody else's existence. An individual self, because he is ignorant. While Krishna says, the individual soul is my part and parcel, Even though I am an individual myself who is the cause of all causes, yet I prefer to stay away and I expand into my own swa-anshas, my own anshas. The individual soul is also his ansha, but he is not swa-anshas. Krishna can claim, okay, when you surrender, you will become my swa-ansha. But you have separated from me and eternally separated by your own willful desire. Therefore, you are not my swa-ansha. I expand in my swa-anshas to reach you, to know about you. So, sarvatah panipadam. The super soul is reaching you. And he is in direct connection with me. I am in direct connection with you too. But at the same time, because you are not in direct connection with me, I prefer super soul. My own expansion remains in touch with you. So therefore, my hands are everywhere. My legs are everywhere. My ears are everywhere. And all these limbs of the Lord, they become the carrier of the consciousness. Carrier of the consciousness. And consciousness will only communicating medium between super soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, there will be no difference between them. But that communication from an individual soul and super soul is not existing. What to speak of a very distant, far away, unreachable place of transcendence. There is no possibility of such communication direct. Unless and until one can communicate with the agency of the Lord, expansion of the Lord as Paramatma. So Krishna says that actually I am the knower. I am the knower, and I created this field of activity called Mother Nature. And she works exactly as I tell her. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanen kaunte jagatvi parivartate. So, it is not allegorical understanding, oh, a super soul has hands. Yes, he has hands. Have you seen the photograph, or the painting of super soul in the heart? How does it look like? Super soul is coming down in the gradation as the expansion of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is an expansion of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is an expansion of Karnodakshaya Vishnu. There are multitude of Garbhodakshaya Vishnus and multitude of Kshirodakshaya Vishnus, and who in turn expands as super soul and sits in the heart of the individual soul to activate him, to inspire him to conduct whatever activities he wants to do for fulfillment of his desire. These are the facilitating aspect of the Lord. So, in previous verse, it is very interesting. that Krishna tells Arjuna that what is to be known, I shall now explain the knowledge, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman, the spirit, the beginningless, the subordinate to me. It is subordinate to me. Lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Means Supersoul is not part of this material world or its production. Supersoul is my personal representation, expanded into each and every atom in between atom. Andantarastha paramanu chayantarastham govindamadi purusham tamam bhajami. He can become smaller than smallest. Actually, Supersoul in our heart is simultaneously smaller than our soul or ourselves, as well as he is all-pervading and he is encompassing us simultaneously. Actually, it is his consciousness that we borrow. Unless and until Supersouls is activating our consciousness. Our consciousness was so much subdued by the mode of ignorance while the annihilation was going on. We assumed the subtle form of mind, body, and mind, intelligence, and ego. This subtle body carried us and giving opportunity according to the laws of karmas into another womb and another opportunity to fulfill our unsatiable desires. So, to fulfill unsatiable desires is through the agency of consciousness. And consciousness flows in the senses, and senses are created by the Lord. 5 senses, 5 objects of senses, and 5 internal sense organs. So all this system, that 15 plus mind, 16, and the Panchamahabhut, 21, and 3 modes by itself. These are 24 elements have been created by the Lord Himself in Sarga. Original, first creation. Brahma does Visarga. And he uses the complicated system of permutation and combination of the 3 modes of material nature and binding effect on the material energy of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, and compact body is of a particular species of life and these configurations. So the idea is that the senses became a vehicle to carry out the consciousness. But instead of the knowledgeability of consciousness is about our reality does not manifest. The influence of the modes of material nature that has been carried on gives us a wrong information that actually the senses are enjoyable. So we tend to enjoy the sense and sense objects. Sense gratification. And sense gratification becomes the most detrimental aspect in our pursuit of knowledge. Either you are impersonalist or a personalitist, doesn't matter, but you have to control your senses. Even an atheist like Buddha wants you to sit down and meditate by controlling your mind and intelligence. So all the processes that lead for controlling the senses, they are essential. And coming out from the objects of sense gratification, that means sense gratification by nature, it's called contaminating the most regrettable action that keeps us into the bodily conception of life. Unless and until it is controlled, it is shunned off, interfering at every level of our activities, one will not be said he is purified. Rather, he is remaining polluted, contaminated. So in this way, the repetition of the cycle of birth and death will continue. That is the cause of ignorance. And ignorance means the misuse of the senses. So in this way, karanam gunasangasya sadasadyoni janmashu, the association of the modes of material nature that is overpowering our senses, they force us to work in a particular way. So in this way we see that it is not the soul itself is responsible for himself. Rather, all his desires are being fulfilled or facilitated by the super soul. And the soul has first and foremost obligation to recognize him. That is what is to be known. Jnana Gyeyam. That is to be known. Unless and until the soul realizes that he is subservient to the super soul, through a proper connection channelized, he will always remain obliged to him. Krishna will be happy. Because Krishna says, I am that super soul, sitting in everyone's heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam raddeshe arjuna tishtati. Ishvara means controller. I am controlling the activities of the individual soul. Because he has so desired, I give the facilitating opportunities. I give him. So if he misuses himself, then he loses the opportunity to know the reality of himself. Unless and until I am known to him, he will not be able to know himself. That's why super soul is expanded everywhere. And recognition of the super soul is that the super soul is working. He has Akshi Shiro Mukham, everything is there. So through all that limbs of the Lord in the form of super soul is the expression of his expansion. Krishna's expansion. Krishna is sitting in Golok Vrindavan, Vrindavanam parityajya pada ekam na gacchati. But then how can he is able to reach to each and every one in his manifested material? Whatever is manifesting, it's within him. And his expansions are also within him. Yad gyatva na punarmoham evam vyasyasi pandava etanya bhutanya sheshani drakshas atmanyatho mayi. When you have thus realized the truth, you will know. And knowledge comes after Unless and until illusion is gone, knowledge never comes. That is to be known. So, yad gyatva punarmoham evam vyasyasi pandava. You will never again succumb to this ignorant bewilderment that has been created by false attachment on the bodily conception of life with your kinsman. Na punarmoham evam yasyasi pandava. And you will know the absolute truth that etanya bhutanya sheshani drakshas atmanyatho mayi. They have been expanded from me, but they are within me. And I am all encompassing. I am within, I am spreading everywhere. So sarvataha. Sarvataha means everywhere. Now everywhere, when we see through our two eyes, which are simply accustomed to see outside of our body, our eyes do not see within our body, but outside the body. Right? So immediately we come to assessment that, oh, I am here and everything is away from me. So similarly, Krishna is aware and everything is expanded from him, so it is all scattered. Krishna is scattered. But Krishna says, they are within me and they are mine. Etanya bhutanya asheshani. Without any exception, they are all living entities. They are within me and they are mine. So, this is the absolute truth. And when Paramatma is reaching to invoke that absolute truth in an individual soul, Krishna knows through that agency of Paramatma what's going on in this guy's head. He knows everything. Through the agency of Paramatma, he knows wherever, whatever and however it is happening. He is completely knowledgeable. So, an individual may be able to know partially about himself. But Krishna says, I know you in and out, thoroughly. And not only you, I know all of them. All of you. So, in this way, the individual soul becomes quite distinct and different from the super soul. Super soul are not of varieties. They are direct expansions, swamshas of Lord Krishna. Right? So, there is unity in them. But individual soul with individual desires are so diversified. They are not united even. Everybody is a selfish person, wants to fulfill their own desires, however limited they may be or unlimited. Therefore, we should understand that there is no harmony between the souls because of difference of desires. Therefore, Krishna consciousness brings the unity in diversity. Because if the devotees keep Krishna in center, Krishna's consciousness is the life and soul for devotee. Krishna's consciousness. So therefore, there will be, even in the varieties of desires, everything will be for the pleasure of the Lord. That is called unity in diversity. So the previous verse was telling, now I shall explain the knowledge, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman, the spirit, the beginningless and subordinate to me. lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. That is Krishna's own expansion as Paramatma. Paramatma is subordinate to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as we see categorically, he is an expansion of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, number 3, Vishnu, thus his photo, his picture will depict that he is standing in four-handed form of Vishnu on the lotus. And each hand is Sankha Chakra Gada Padma, subsequently. They are expansions of the expansion of the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like that. Paramatma feature of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the first one to represent Lord Krishna. So therefore it is obligation to know him first. On the way to our spiritual journey, the absolute knowledge of impersonal Brahman is realized by knowing that you are not this body. Even though you have not seen your Swarupa, the original form of the Lord, at least theoretically understanding that you are not this body. You are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Right? So that's the beginning aspect. But then it requires realization on the Paramatma level. Impersonal level does not demand any proof. It is just to say, yes, Prabhu, you are liberated. You are liberated because you are a devotee performing the highest devotional service. This knowledge or realization of individual automatically comes in you, and you know Paramatma also. So in this reference, the Bhagavad Dharma, consisting of the 5 effects of hearing and chanting of the glories of the holy name, entails that when one chants purely, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, he has been qualified to enter into the effect of the pure name, which will be leading him to love of Godhead. Right? Now, love is a personalized function. Impersonal function cannot be attributed in love. It becomes meaningless. You need 2 persons to love. The Supreme Personality of Godhead and his part and parcel. And individualized, not collective. So, the process in this devotional service, that one becomes qualified when he chants purely. So he can enter and meditate on this Supreme Personality of Godhead. First, the mental conception is there of Paramatma. But he rises above the transcendental mode of neutrality into servitorship, fraternity, then parental, and then conjugal aspect, gradually. But it depends upon the relationship. We learnt in the morning, it depends upon the relationship of the Jiva with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee and the Supreme Lord. What was his Swarupa before when he fell off? He regains that Swarupa. So it's a journey. In pure chanting, one will be able to find out through a system of bhajan, the bhajana pranali. That system has to be very, very perfectly guided, through the help of spiritual master. And when he becomes qualified simply by trial and error, that just like a jigsaw puzzle fits in, then the interaction between the soul and super soul, or in other words, the soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead will begin. So, even though he is so far, far away, he still is near. Tajjedati, anti. And Ishopanishad, what is that sloka? Where do we have Ishopanishad? No. Tad dure tadantike. Anybody? He is so near, otherwise he is so far away. As if it is a contradictory, understanding. How can you be so near at the same time so far? But as Paramatma, his own expansion, he is so near. But as Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no difference between Paramatma and Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Supreme Personality of Godhead is a superior status than Paramatma. Therefore, Krishna is telling here that Sarvatah Sruti Malloke Sarvam Avrutya Tishtati. Prabhupada puts this, that in this way the Super Soul exists pervading everything and everywhere, and yet he is subordinate to me. Subordination of the Super Soul. Vrindavanam parityajya padaikam na gacchati. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not put up a step outside of Vrindavan. Then who goes? His own expansion. You got it? Yeah. All right. He also got it. Yeah. Tajje jati tanne jati tad dure tad anantike tad antara asya sarvasya tad u sarvasyasya bahyatah. Translation. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is lost. Outside of. How to reconcile this? Paramatma is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all-pervading. Therefore, Krishna is all-pervading. Who expands? Krishna expands. Eko bahushyam. He manifests into many. What is the difficulty? What is the difficulty? Eko bahushyam. Why he is manifesting into many? Well, he was feeling lonely and he wanted to enjoy his energies. He is the enjoyer, supreme enjoyer. So therefore, he plays this kind of trick by expanding and expanding and expanding. Because also, he is so careful about us that we carelessly left him So he is very carefully expanding to reach to us individually in the form of Paramatma. Because he is all-powerful, omniscient, and omnipresent, nothing is without him going to exist. Even a dead matter cannot exist without his presence. Because everything is him. And he is manifesting in so many varieties of energies. And they manifest to fulfill his desire, not an individual, expanded, wayward, runaway guy's desire. So, we are all under the stringent laws of Maya, Mahamaya, or external energy, if we are, not obeying him. But the devotees prefer to obey him. So they prefer to come under Yoga Maya. They are subordinate. Maya has to cover us, but which Maya you want to be covered in? That's your choice. Krishna will cover you. If you do not obey him, then you will have to obey Maya, his external energy. So, this is important, and he is the most worthy knowledgeable. Anything without his knowledge is useless. So in this way we need to understand that in this way the Super Soul exists, pervading everything, and he was the one who appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva through his most expanded agency, Paramatma. Is just to test Devaki and Vasudeva. They prayed him, my dear Lord, sorry, we did not ask you to come, but you appeared, because that is the system where you are going to appear. But we know by Tattva, the truth, you are the same personality, but you are an expanded personality. We did not want you to be an expanded person. We need you to be our own original personality. And we want to serve you. So, it says agreeable, but you want benefit for your desires. It says, who cares? You show the whole world your beautiful pastimes of child leelas. We will hear the glorification from great devotees. That is more preferable, but you go ahead and perform. We may not be the direct witness. So the devotees do not want to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, they want to serve the devotees who are seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, it is the best way to please the devotees. Serve the devotees and your life will be successful. Krishna will be served. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any question?
Hare Krishna.
You were talking about serving the devotees. You were talking about Devaki and Vasudeva serving the devotees by allowing Krishna to become someone else's children. So it also relates for us for serving the devotees who are around us.
Yes.
The less than pure devotees.
We have to see others as pure devotees. So there, we should not put who is a lesser devotee and who is a greater devotee. The devotees are devotees and they should not be discriminated.
But still, the gopis we know are the highest.
Oh, definitely. But you won't find gopis. Then what will you do?
It has been said, I have heard it said by authorities, that everyone is a devotee. It's just that some people know it, and some people haven't found out yet.
Aha. So why to take chances? Huh? If we are not able to find out who is a devotee, it means we are not practicing devotional service.
Because it's their constitutional nature. It's only a matter of time.
It's a matter of time. Yes, try hard.
It's our obligation to go out and find them, give them the opportunity.
Surely, there is a latent potential, what they call, hidden. It's not exposed yet. But simply by chanting Hare Krishna, it will be exposed. And you will embrace it. If you can't physically embrace him, then just seeing his willingness to chant 16 rounds makes you happy. That happiness is of the same quality of embracing, welcoming. The language or the usage of the language of common man to understand is, say, he can extend his hand this far or that far. It's a limited perception. But in transcendental expression, he can extend his hands way away from far. But through the agency of Paramatma, who is all-pervading, so where is the question he is not expanding? If we have to, join hands and make a human chain, it's an expansion, so, right? But that is a limited experience of physical eyes. But if you see through the eyes cultivated of transcendence, you will see Lord Krishna is expanding his hand through the chain of Paramatmas. So many Paramatmas are there. He doesn't have to necessarily go out of Vrindavan and reach out and make himself a very gigantic form, even though if he could do in the form of Virata Rupa. It is still very difficult to conceive. Because there is no end or no beginning. That's the way Arjuna understood. Neither Arjuna understood the purpose of the presence of such Virata Rupa. He wanted to know the opulence manifested in this material world, situated in one form and one place. And Krishna showed those opulences inclusive in this Virata form. But there was another purpose to serve, that this Virata Rupa is the form of the time personified, Kalo Ahamasmi. And his activities have to be understood that it's a distracting time. And he sees all the soldiers are rushing into the flaming mouths of the Virata Rupa. He saw even Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama entering into, and he was terrified. Seven except five, he said. I am here to devour all the present. Seven except you five will be saved. Everyone will perish. So, that is the opulence of the Lord. Destruction is also done in opulent style. Any other question or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Krishna is all pervading. He is complete with all six opulences. Then why a baby is born, absolutely innocent, pure, turns out to be a dreaded demon in all ages, in all yugas, like even in present day, ISIS people, Baghdadi and all, they are also human beings, and they are also supposed to be sons of Krishna. So is Krishna willing for all these things?
You are a devotee, you are compassionate on the ISI. Yeah. But Krishna is facilitating and witnessing. He is misusing the opportunity to expand the love. Rather, a fanatic, he is meant for destruction of the self and other selves. For no reason. For no reason.
And he is still enjoy. Is Krishna is still enjoy?
No, he is indifferent. He is indifferent. Krishna rewards whatever the action accordingly. He rewards accordingly. If he puts a devotee in similar situation, how would you think? And Krishna wants to take him fast. A devotee should not be disturbed. Tatya anukampam su samikshnamana. That is the nature of devotee. He will blame himself. I must have done some vipak, kritam vipakam. And that is what is being given to me. My dear Lord, you are very kind. I am remembering you constantly. To protect me means my soul. Let this body perish the way you want. What do you think when Indra threw this Vajra to kill Vritrasur? Do you think Vritrasur was disturbed? Did he have anything? His consciousness was geared right on Krishna. Actually, he was the one to remind Indra, who was so terrified by Vritrasura. He was a devotee. Vritrasura was a devotee. And Indra simply wanted to be materialistic attached. He is trying to guard his position, and therefore he would not come out from his palace and his Singhasana even. And he was being challenged by Vritrasura. Come, fight. For my sake, you liberate me because you are the only one who is going to kill me. You forgot. Krishna told all the demigods to go to the Dichi Muni and get his bones. Go, tell them. Make my day fast. Fight. I am not afraid of you. You are afraid of me. Recognize a devotee in a demon's body. But you won't see that kind of example in ISIS. You know? Devotional service, love of Godhead, is a different thing. This is fanaticism. There is no love of Godhead. Prabhupada said, a devotee imbued with love of Godhead does not desire to even kill an ant. A merciless beheading. As an act of love, you can't bet it. Act of love of Godhead? Anything else? Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki